In today's lesson, we're going to talk about using parentheses. As you know, in the order of operations, it tells us to do whatever is inside the parentheses first. Okay, so we can kind of use that to make sure that we put parentheses around things that we want to do first in equations to get it to equal what we want. So, an example here is we've got Dwayne and Keisha, and they were asked to calculate the value of the expression. So as you can see, they both start off with the exact same expression, 3 times 8 divided by 4 times 2, but as you can see in the end, Dwayne got 3 for an answer and Keisha got 12. So what we're going to talk about here in the next slide is how did they get their answers? And then so the explanation here just says without some consistent rules for calculating expressions, there's no way to determine which answer is correct. Okay, because in this case, if we didn't know the rules, we could argue that they're both right. So to solve this problem, mathematicians often use parentheses to make the meaning of an expression clear. Parentheses are used to group parts of an expression that represent a single value. Alright, so we're going to take a closer look here at how Dwayne and Keisha each solved this. So for Dwayne, what he did is he multiplied first, then divided. So he took 3 times 8 and got 24, and then he took 4 times 2 and got 8, and then he took 24 divided by 8 to get 3. Okay? Keisha, what she did to solve the problem was she divided first, then she multiplied. So she did 8 divided by 4 to get 2. So now she's got 3 times 2 times 2, and 3 times 2 times 2 is 12. 3 times 2 is 6, times 2 is 12. So that's what she did. So the next question here is where should the parentheses go in the expression to get Dwayne's answer? So for Dwayne, if we've got the 3 times 8 divided by 4 times 2, he multiplied first, so we would need to put parentheses around the 3 times 8 and the 4 times 2. That would allow us to get his answer. For Keisha, by the way, there's a typo there in case you don't notice to cross off and fix there. Change Dwayne to Keisha in this second one. But in hers, she divided first, so we would need to put the parentheses around 8 divided by 4 to do it that way. Okay, so check those, make sure that you've got that, understand that, and we'll move on. Okay, the next thing we're looking at here is we're going to look at some expressions, or some equations, I'm sorry, and we need to decide where should we put the parentheses to make these true. So in number 1, I've got 9 times 3 minus 2 minus 2 equals 7. Okay, if I were to do that the way it is, 9 times 3 is 27, minus 2 is 25, minus 2 is 23, not 7. So I need to put some parentheses around something in order to get 7. So in this case, I would put them around the 3 minus 2. Because if I do the 3 minus 2 first, I will get 1. So then what I have is 9 times 1 minus 2. So 9 times 1 is 9. 9 minus 2 is 7. Number 2, somehow we need to get that to equal 10. So again, if we do it, if we use order of operations and do it the way we should right now, we would do the division first. But that 10 divided by 2 would give us 5. 4 plus 5 is 9. 9 plus 3 is 12, not 10. So we got to put parentheses around something to show that, hey, we don't want to do the division first. We want to do something else first. In this case, it's going to be the 4 plus 10. Because 4 plus 10 is 14. 14 divided by 2 is 7. 7 plus 3 is 10. So that one works out. For number 3, in order to get 20, we would have to put parentheses around the 6 minus 3. So again, if we do that first, 6 minus 3 would be 3. 12 divided by 3 would be 4. And 4 times 5 would equal 20. So that one would work out. And then the last one, number 4. This one actually needs 2 sets of parentheses in order to get 10. We would have to put them around the 7 plus 3 and around the 2 minus 1. Because 7 plus 3 is 10, 2 minus 1 is 1, so 10 times 1 is 10. The other question here is, how would you read each of these equations aloud? So I just wrote out the first one here. We're not going to write all of them out. So the first one would be 9 times the quantity, 3 minus 2, minus 2 equals 7. So wherever there are parentheses, you're going to use the word quantity. So notice it was 9 times the quantity, 3 minus 2. So when I say the quantity, 3 minus 2, you know the 3 minus 2 is in parentheses. All right, so going through the rest of them here, if we look at number 2, we would read that one as the quantity, 4 plus 10, divided by 2, plus 3 equals 10. That's how we would say that one. Number 3, we would read that as 12 divided by the quantity, 6 minus 3, times 5 equals 20. And then the last one, number 4, we would read that as 7 plus 3 times the quantity, 2 minus 1, equals 10. Again, wherever there are parentheses, you would use the word quantity so that people know that you're using parentheses around that operation. All right, the next slide here is just showing you an example of an expression, the order that you would do it in, and how you would say it. So this happens to be the one that Dwayne did. So as you can see, it says that it is read 3 times the quantity, 8 divided by 4. Or I'm sorry, the first one, there's 2 of them in here. The top one is read the quantity 3 times 8 divided by the quantity 4 times 2. That's the one that Dwayne did. The second one, so that was Dwayne's. This one's Keisha's down here. So the second one would be read 3 times the quantity, 8 divided by 4, times 2. Another example here, just talking about some conventions for parentheses here. So 5 multiplied by the quantity, 4 plus 7. And then the second example there is with letters. That means 3 multiplied by the quantity, A plus B. So we're, again, just you still read it the same way with the letters. Okay, moving on to some work here. You can practice saying these out loud. Letter A would be 3 plus the quantity 4 times 5. So when we work that out, we would have to do the parentheses first. So I'd have 3 plus 20, because 4 times 5 is 20, and 3 plus 20 would be 23. Okay, so you can go ahead, pause the video right now, work those out, practice saying them, and check them to make sure that you get them correct. All right, so looking at B and C here. For B, I would read that as 8 times the quantity, 4 divided by 1, plus 4. So we would have to do the 4 divided by 1 first, which would give you 4. 8 times 4 is 32. 32 plus 4 is 36. Letter C, I would read that as 12 plus the quantity 6 divided by 3 minus 3. So again, you would do the parentheses first. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 12 plus 2 is 14. 14 minus 3 is 11. Moving on to number 2, we need to use parentheses to rewrite each expression to give 2 different results. Calculate the value for each new expression. So to get you started here from the first one, I could put the parentheses around the 5 times 4, and I could calculate that out. Or I could put the parentheses around the 3 plus 5 and then calculate that. So that's what you're going to do for A and B here. So I want you to pause the video, try these on your own, and then when you're done, you can start it up again and check them. Alright, so go ahead and check A and B here. So A, if I do it the first way, I would end up with 23. If we do it the second way, where we put the parentheses around the 3 plus 5, we'd end up with 32. For letter B, the first one I chose to put the parentheses around the 2 times 5. So if I do it that way, I would end up with 9. And then the second way I chose to do it was to put the parentheses around the 2 plus 4. If I were to do it that way, I'd end up with 10 over 6, which is about 1.67 there when you round it. Now for letter B, you could have done that one more way. You could have put the parentheses around the 5 divided by 2 if you wanted to. And you could have calculated it out that way. If you did that and you want me to check it, just let me know. Alright, so we're going to move on to number 3. And this one, again, parentheses to rewrite this expression to give 2 different results. So go ahead and try this on your own quick. Pause the video, and then when you've tried it, go ahead and restart. Alright, so if you take a look here, the first way would be to put parentheses around the A plus B. Do that first and then divide by 5, or you could put parentheses around the B divided by 5. Do that first and then add the A. So letter B says substitute the values A equals 10 and B equals 5 into each expression and calculate the value. So what I'm going to do here is rewrite this. Instead of A, I'm going to put in the 10. Instead of B, I'm going to put in the 5. And we're going to calculate it out. So 10 plus 5 is 15. 15 divided by 5 is 3 if we do it that way. Again, I'm putting in the 10 for A. I'm putting in the 5 for B. So this time, in the parentheses is 5 divided by 5. We have to do that first and get the 1. And now we're going to add 10 to it. 10 plus 1 is 11. So again, make sure you got those. Pause the video if you need to. Alright, on this next slide here, number 4, it's asking you to write these out mathematically. So I've already gone and done that. Make sure that you read each one and then see how it was written mathematically. I want you to pay close attention to letters B and C. If you notice, I wrote those 2 different ways. So for letter B, the quantity 8 minus 5 divided by K. So the quantity 8 minus 5, that tells me to put that in parentheses and then divide by K. Another way to write that would be to use the fraction bar. If you use the fraction bar, you don't have to put parentheses around the 8 minus 5, because when we use a fraction bar, we know that we're supposed to do everything on top first, everything on the bottom, and then divide at the end. Same with C. You could write that as the quantity A minus 2. Again, you could put that in parentheses and then show divide by 3. Or if you do it with a fraction bar, you can just put the A minus 2 on top over the 3. And both of those would work. Okay, this next problem involving Lisa and Dwayne here. So Lisa got N points on her first throw. On her second throw, she got an additional 3 points. So that's where the N plus 3 came in. And we're putting the N plus 3 in parentheses because that's what happened first. The last thing that happened is she hit the bullseye and doubled her score. So she had the N plus 3, whatever that adds up to got doubled. So we need to add that first, then multiply by 2. That's why we get the expression 2 times the quantity N plus 3. What I'd like you to do on this slide is just pause the video, read through it, look at the explanations, make sure that you get the notes down, and just get out of it what you can here. If you got questions, please ask me. Again, so go pause the video and get these notes. Again, with this slide, I would just like you to take a look at the questions and the answers. Make sure you get everything down. If you have questions, please ask me and I will clarify it for you. So we'll go ahead, pause, and take a look, make sure you get everything down. To finish out here, close this up, how do parentheses help clarify expressions? Parentheses show which value should be considered as one quantity to avoid confusion. Again, so we don't have two people doing the same problem and getting two different answers. You finish these notes up, your homework's online. Make sure you turn the note sheet in when you're done with your homework so that I know you've done it.